Hey guys, it's Aaron, your virtual assistant and website design expert. Today I'm here with Nick Jonsson. Hey Nick, how are you?
Great, Aaron. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks for coming, mate. It's absolutely fantastic. So I've got a few questions for you today, but I just wanted to touch base and find out a little bit more about you. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your business.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm doing for the last 7, 8 years now, Aaron, is running confidential peer groups, and we have these peer groups, which are basically support groups
Yeah.
for either senior executives. So let's say that you are a senior leader working for a big multinational, or you might be an SME working, you being your own business owner, a CEO of a smaller to medium-sized firm. Then we have groups for that as well. So it's really to create this safe place where you can feel that you are vulnerable, where you can
Sure.
discuss your work-related challenges and get support on those.
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. And how long have you had this for? How long have you been like running this for?
A little bit over 7 years now, and I'm based in Singapore. We've been running the groups here in Singapore and now also in Indonesia and Malaysia.
Yeah, sure. Great. So obviously I wanted to get you on board today because you've got more experience with like networking and support networks than I have. So I've also got some questions that I suppose like, I personally wanted some answers for, and I suppose there's a lot of people out there thinking exactly the same thing. So if you're happy to answer some questions like Nick, I'd love to jump straight in and get your advice.
Yeah, sure, go for it.
Okay, man. Cool. So look, working like remotely, with no peers surrounding you, so what would you like recommend would be the best thing for support? Because look, it gets a little bit lonely, you know. I work online by myself. It's been like fitness, and now obviously I like with the virtual assistants. It gets a bit lonely sometimes.
Yes, the saying is still there, right? It's lonely at the top, and perhaps it even more so if you are a CEO or working for an SME company where
Yeah.
you're not in the office every day with a lot of colleagues around you. So you're
Mm,
working perhaps remotely and connecting only with clients, perhaps with your team also in a different country. That
yeah.
can be very lonely, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So I suppose like my question is, what would you like recommend for the best support? You know, just to because look, sometimes it gets a bit lonely. You haven't got the people to speak to. You think, okay, like, who can I ask? Like this question, obviously, like you're not going to speak to your family, your friends, or your loved ones and stuff like that. So I suppose like who would you suggest would be the best type of people to get the support from?
Yeah, so I can think of a few ways here. One can, of course, be if you work with a coach, there's a coach who can work with you one-on-one to support you.
Yep.
But however, many times, perhaps as an entrepreneur, especially, you like to not only get one voice, you might want to get feedback from more people. So
Okay,
then you can do something like belonging to a peer group like what we have, but then you get a support and you get suggestions from multiple people.
sure. Yeah, that's a really good thing because if you've got that one person that you're getting some feedback from, it might not always be the right advice, right? Or you might like want to have like multiple ideas, sort of just to plant those seeds in your head to make the right decision.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, one person cannot know everything. So that's why we have, around 25, 30 people in each of our peer groups, and we're trying to match. So we have a diversity in the room. We want to have someone who has a legal background, someone who has a marketing, someone with sales, and then from different kind of industries, so you can learn from each other.
Sure. Okay, that's some really good advice. That's really good. Okay, next question. I suppose like as a CEO, whom would you suggest seeking solution advice from? You know, if you're at the top of your business and like you've got a problem, you know, who would be the best thing? I suppose it's pretty similar to the last question, but if you're top of your game and you've got a major problem, right? Like who would you like really seek a solution from?
Yeah, so this is the challenge here. If you have not built up this proactively, once you have this major challenge, then you might not have anyone to turn to, and you
Yeah.
might just have to end up paying for a consultancy company a huge envelope of
Right.
money to solve it for you, which takes
Sure.
time. So
Sure.
you need to be proactive and create these sort of peer networks before when things are going fine for you, so that when something challenging comes up, when you have a big problem and you need that advice, then the network is there and you have been of service to them, you built the connections, you built the trust, so then you just tell them. And in these groups also can be run online these days, and you have chat functions in between meetings where you can post the questions. So this is should be ready. You should have your network on standby.
Okay, cool. That's good. That's good advice. So I suppose like the biggest problem is if you've just come into a CEO, or I suppose like you're new to managing a company and you haven't like built up then like networks, you're pretty much saying that you're in trouble, right?
Yes, that's right. It's like, you know, you're coming in the fitness industry. If you're walking into the gym for the first time and you never use the machines, you don't know what to do, you're gonna injure yourself. It's the same here in the working environment. If you don't have the help, you're gonna make mistakes, and this is gonna be costing you a lot of time and money.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to make wrong decisions. Like really, I suppose like that's a good way of learning, but it could be an expensive way of learning as well, right? Long
Yes.
term, for sure. Okay. Yeah. So like, do you think personal support and business support should be separated in the work environment? And who should the go-to people like be?
Well, I always talk about two different professional network. I talk about the personal network, I talk about the professional network, and it might not necessarily be the same. We might not be able to mix that up. So you should have a personal support network, and that might be, and for us, Aaron, who's into sport, it can be your running club, your swim academy, and where you have people who build up trust, people who have perhaps same hobbies, same interests as you, and it can be some of your close friends who've been your friends since high school. That might be your personal support network. But a business support network should ideally be people who run a similar business as you, perhaps people at a similar seniority level with a similar scope and a similar P&L responsibility, so that you talk the same language. The last thing that you should do is come home and, you know, offload yourself and the challenges to your partner, who might have no idea about what you're working on. So it's better to sort that out professionally.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good advice as well. So keep that separate. Again, I suppose you're building up like networks, your personal networks, whether it be like your hobby, your sport, or whatever, and then you've got your personal support peers as well, at the same sort of level as you. Good advice, man. Good advice. Okay. Yep. So like, who should be the next like go-to person in like business support if like your manager is not available?
Yeah, so that can be quite common, especially now when we work remotely. It's not so easy to just go and knock the door and go and see the colleague or ask to go for a coffee or a lunch break. So therefore, people's calendar tend to be pretty booked up and so on. So again, it comes back to here having these support networks and the lines of people who you have been of service to, and who you know that they will be waiting for you if you have a challenge, so they are ready, and you can pick up the phone or send them a message right away. I need some support here, can you help me? And then also you should also make some agreements with your manager that in the case that you are not available, I will give you, you know, until end of the day, and if I'm not able to catch you, a decision might need to be made. So it's about empowering the team members as well, that you actually can make some decisions without the manager as well.
Okay, yeah, that's good advice. So, like, would you suggest for like team like members and staff to have a support like network as well? Obviously, surrounding them are going to be the people in the team, but what sort of, I suppose, support networks like would you suggest in that team environment? Then, like, would you suggest like catch ups or I suppose like whatever in regard to that?
Yeah, so I mean, and if I'm looking at the network that I'm working with, some of my colleagues in Europe, they have even specific peer groups for different functions. Like they
Okay.
have groups for head chefs. So imagine you've been working as a chef all your life. Suddenly you find yourself promoted as a head chef of a hotel. Below you, you have 300 staff working in the kitchen. You have all the purchasing of the ingredients and everything else, and you don't have an education in this. Then you obviously need to have some education there, but you also need a support network where you can share, you know, knowledge around that. So I definitely believe that this is also important for managers to build up a professional network.
Okay, great advice, Nick. Awesome. So when like business gets tough, right? 10 out of 10, right? So we all know what obviously like business causes stress. But like what is your thought process to overcome stress?
Well, I think if it's a 10 over 10, we probably need to take a step back, take a breather, right? Because any response we're going to do, any action at the 10 out of 10 level, then it's probably not going to be the right one. So we need to take a step back, breathe, and write down some facts when we can, maybe go for a walk or whatever it is, and then come back at it. And sometimes we just need to sleep on things if the going gets too tough. If it is an immediate crisis and some actions need to be taken right away, of course, you just need to act. The crisis is a crisis. But what I did find is if leaders tend to be able to handle stress quite well when the real pressure gets on, when the real decisions need to happen. And again, hopefully we have, created the right parameters around us. So we have people we can check in with so that we make the right decisions under those crucial moments.
Sure. Okay. So like best advice is to take a step back, control emotions, come back, sleep on it. And then obviously to make the right decisions with the right, I suppose, emotions.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, man, like how has exercise, I suppose, like helped you in business, right? Like, we've known each other for a long time. So we obviously have trained together as well, like many times. We're in the same sport. So I know it's helped like you, it's helped like me. But I want to hear like your point. Like how has exercise like helped you in regard to business?
Well, if you asked me, 5, 7 years ago, how can you make, exercise as part of your business? I would say, well, playing golf is an easy one. You spend the day on the golf course together, but I couldn't really see beyond that. But these days, I almost see that, cycling has become the new golf. You can socialize and meet professional people and network through cycling. I now also belong to a swim academy. I meet a lot of business contacts at the swim academy. We have even running clubs for professionals. Even the most networks and organization have a running club, and it can be very social, and it can even be up to the point where you travel together and do a marathon or whatever it is. So I say that this really has worked for me. I have joined a lot of these kind of events rather than going for the wine tasting events and so on, which I normally would use for networking in the past. So exercise have replaced that, and for that, as I'm getting older, I'm very grateful, and so is my health.
Sure. Excellent, man. So like what's your mindset compared to on a day that you do, if it's like cycling or swimming, compared to a day if you don't do any training in the mornings? What's the difference between your mindsets in regard to
Well,
business?
yeah, it's very different. I think once you have exercised, you're a lot calmer, you have more distance, you think more clearly, and you make better decisions. You're also more alert, because most likely, if you've been exercising, then you also sleep better, so you come more rested, you have better memory, you don't forget things. So it's a big, big difference.
Okay. Excellent, man. Beautiful. Last question for you, Nick. Okay, business goals, I'm a big advocate of goal setting. So I just wanted to ask you the question. Business goals are important. So what are your goals for the quarter, for the year, and long term in regard to your business?
Well, it's a good one, Aaron. I'm also a big believer on goal setting, and I do believe in writing them down. And in fact, I have on my to-do list for this weekend to rewrite my goals again. I do that a couple of times a year, and I try to put deadlines and dates and so on, and be quite specific in something tangible. And I keep this sheet. It's something that I've done for the last sort of 16, 17 years, and it's amazing to look back at the goals you put a few years ago. I would say on top of my goals now is, it's part of being, the fitness goals and the achievements I'm hoping to achieve there this year. Because health and everything else is so important. And then there's business goals, and that really includes, continue to expand my business. And we are really expanding, especially in Indonesia and Malaysia this year. So that I'm really excited about.
Perfect, man. Okay, sounds fantastic. Great to hear, Nick. Awesome. Look, thanks so much for your time today, Nick. I really appreciate it. It's been great to get some advice from you. I think, are you back in Phuket for training next month? Is it?
Definitely, I'm touching down on the 16th of March and looking forward to seeing you then.
Perfect, mate. Excellent. Look forward to catching up with you there. Thanks so much for today, Nick. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron. Bye for now.
Ciao. Bye.